Welcome to another Crucible tutorial. Today we'll be looking at the Ork Stronghold, how it plays, and general strategies against it. So Ork Stronghold was a weird one to design and balance because the original Stronghold did not really have a core concept. You would go to the middle, capture the middle, then either go to either side or just push through here. It wasn't difficult even in vanilla, and then you just go to the main base and kill the HQ. It didn't, at least to me, it didn't feel very orky, and it's just, there wasn't much to it. It was a very bare bones kind of stronghold. So the design of this has tried to make the stronghold feel orky and feel like you can't fight them straight on, and that you have to outwit them in some way. Which is very much how you're supposed to fight orcs, right? You're supposed to either war of attrition them, or well, actually even wars of attritions are really rough versus orcs. So you're supposed to kind of frustrate them, make them fight amongst themselves, which was already explored in the Dark Crusade Stronghold, or you're supposed to outwit them, which is the concept that that I wanted to explore in this stronghold. So you'll start off in the same position. One notable thing is that there are no listening posts near the entrance to your base, and that is very deliberate. They've all been moved to the back because whilst they can defend from like small attack waves from the sides, which we'll talk about the sides in a second, this is meant to be a deliberate chokehold. You're meant to set up your own defensive line however you want, whether it's walls and turrets behind, whether you have some kind of curved a defense line, whatever it is. This area is supposed to be open for you to set up your defenses however you see fit. So now let's look at the basics of the map as you load in. So there are two paths. You start with 4 listening posts here and a slag. You gain a 5th one here, which is basically part of your base. And there are 3 more here that are a bit more difficult to maintain because it's very close to the orcs, but they are they're still ones that you should get relatively early on. So as you load in, obviously capture your initial area, capture this one, and the idea is to start moving this way to capture at least these 3. But as you can see, sometimes they decide to bring the war truck down here, so you do probably need some anti-vehicle, so you need to be in tier 1 before you decide to go over here. And another thing to note is the initial attack wave. So units that will come at you, a few squads of sluggers and shooter boys. This is where the initial honor guard are very important, where if you are ill prepared for this initial attack, it can just kill you. This is an attack wave, especially on brutal, which this is on, can be difficult to hold, similar to how the Dark Crusade attack waves can be a bit rough at the beginning. So keep that in mind when you're doing this as well, where you do need to push back this initial wave before you can properly get yourself set up. So those are the main things for the initial area. Now let's look at the orcs. So first of all, this relic base. It has layered turret defenses, more layered turrets, and a bunch of basically their own somewhat disorganized choke point. There are also these ouchie platforms and boomy platforms. So ouchie platforms appear if you're playing on hard difficulty or up, and boomy platforms appear on brutal difficulties, making the capture of this area even more difficult, as if you're trying to go up this ramp, especially this booby platform will keep shelling at you and will make that very difficult. Moving on to the right, this is the small initial outposts. As a general rule of thumb, anything with a HQ is some kind of base that will spawn some sort of units. So this base will start spawning units, and those units will, for the most part, go to the center, and then from the center go down and attack you. Or they will decide to move down here and move through the side path, but that's a lot rarer. Over to the right, this is the, as you can see by knobs defending it, this is going to be the heavy infantry base, where it will activate later on in the stronghold, and it will start sending heavy infantry down to the center, or again, sometimes rarely down this way. This is a base that will mostly spawn aircraft that patrol around or that just stay around the map. It's not too important to take out. It does have a small chance of spawning a nuclear bomber, so keep that in mind, where if you do kill a lot of these aircraft scattered around, that improves the chances, because they'll get replenished. It will build some more, but it will also replenish existing ones. So keep in mind that they can spawn nuclear bombers. It's a low chance, but it's there. And now moving on to the left side. This is the second small base that will spawn units that will either go to the center or go down this path and to the side of your base. This is the vehicle base. It will spawn vehicles that will go and attack you, including some later game quite powerful vehicles, including the Ork artillery. And then up here, this base will spawn squigots and a few other bits and pieces, but not too important either, where both this base and this base are meant more so as a stopgap and as a defense than they are meant to actually build units. And then moving up top, some more smaller defenses and main HQ. So one thing that you'll notice is that there's this green aura. As it will say in the tooltip, also, by the way, be sure to read tooltips. Yes, most of them are unchanged, because most of them didn't need changing, but some of them are changed, and the changes are important. So please don't ignore tooltips, do read them. Making units near impervious to damage, it must be destroyed before Gorguts can be killed. So yes, this is generating a shield, making units near invulnerable, and it needs to die for units to be able to die. Okay? So that's basically the Ork setup. Now, as for general strategies, well, sorry, to go over a few more things. So obviously, all of the attack waves from all of the side bases will converge in the center and then come at you through the center. That's why this choke point is important. And what's also important is to not let these waves build up too much, where in the early game they're relatively easy to handle, but if you have knobs or mega knobs combining with artillery, that's just going to sit over here whilst the mega knobs provide vision and tank, then things can get quite rough. So keep in mind that you do need to stop all of the attack waves from converging, otherwise you're going to have a bad time. And keep in mind that this is the first edition of the base. This is my intent. The exact nature of how the attack waves converge and come at you may change in the future, as might the few minor things, but most of what I say should still apply. So, strategies. The easiest strategy to go for is consolidate your initial area, go to tier 1, get your slag. This is the other reason why you want tier 1, because then it gives you access to the slag. You then set up a defensive line around here, and you push in here, take out the small base, and here is where you can diverge. where you can build up a fortification around here to stop the attack waves from this base from converging in the center, or you can choose to go and take out the knob base. Either way works. Then, after that side is dealt with, you do want to go either through the side here. As you can see, this side is mostly undefended, and you can dismantle, because these walls are actually blockers, so they will block some of the shots coming from here. So you can dismantle this side and then take over the middle that way. That's the other, that's one of the ways. Or you can rotate and go through here, and again, set up a defensive line, take out the space, set up a defensive line to prevent vehicles from here from coming in and joining the middle. And that, boom. The reason why you want to go here first is you do get 4, maybe 5 if you are sneaky enough to take this out without needing to take out the space. Listening posts, well, it's actually 6. Well, this one is not available, but yeah, 4 to 5 listening posts, whilst here you have 1, and that's about it. And this is deliberate because this side is less critical in terms of the units it sends at you. The units that it sends at you are generally less of a problem. In melee, like heavy infantry can be annoying, but by itself, heavy infantry won't do all that much, especially versus a good defensive line. This sends out artillery, and this sends out squigots, both of which are much more dangerous than the knobs and aircraft of this side. Hence why there's less resources here, because if you're going over here, you're doing it to take out the enemy, not to further your own economy. So that's the general idea. You go right side first, take out at least this area, either fortify or push up, or push through the middle. Then go left side, take out this, fortify the area, or push up, take out the base, and then you don't have to deal with artillery. So that's the first kind of half of the stronghold, where you take out all of this, and now you have to deal with the second half. So again, we have a philosophy of another open choke point, where if you try to go through here, you'll be bombarded by units from all sides. And also another thing to note is that Gorguts will build up an attack waves of his own and come with his attack waves right through the center towards your base. So if you're trying to attack through the center and you don't time it well, you can also meet Gorguts' attack wave coming out, which will make things a lot harder, hence why you want to probably fortify and move around instead. So yeah, so for second half, obviously you can go up either side. This side is a little bit more difficult to go up. There's actually a fun scripted event here. I won't spoil what it does. But yeah, you can go up this side, that way you can take out the squigots, or this is an easier side to take out. You take out the aircraft, and then you can take out, as you can see from the right here, this is pretty much undefended. You can take out this side, and then you have a choice. So you don't need to clear the entire map to win. In theory, you should be able to win by clearing up to here, and then using this side path. Where this is, I know right now the visuals are not great, but this is a path that goes up and right into the enemy base. The idea is you can get units in here that have a jump, run to around here, jump on the generator, kill the generator, and boom, you have you have the generator down, so now you can deep strike or do whatever to kill Gorguts. So that's all you need critically. However, I do recommend that you clear out at least half of the map, where you clear out the center so that whichever side you don't clear, the attack waves don't... You clear out a side to get rid of that attack waves, you clear out the center for the relic, and kind of easy access and a good defensible position again against Gorguts. And then you clear out either side bases and use the side paths to get into the base and onto the generator. So that's the basic strategies. in terms of mechanics, there's not all that much going on here. Attack waves coming all from all sides, converge, come attack you. Gorguts will come and attack you. It can all be mostly held with a good defensive line, and then you just dismantle the orcs one by one, base by base. What else is there? One thing to note about the generator. I've seen people nuke this base in order to get rid of its fortifications, and right now that will work, yes. You might get an error, so you can always, on Stronghold, you always need to be careful with nuking or using any sort of insta-kill, because it can sometimes screw with the AI or screw with the code. So be careful with that, and make sure to save before you nuke. But one thing to note is that right now nukes are weird and not well balanced, so they will actually work. But in the future, I'll make sure that most nukes won't do much against the generator. So keep in mind that it's really a cheese due to an outdated mechanic that it is an actual intended strategy. The intended strategy is to figure out a way to either deep strike or jump units into here and destroy the generator and then destroy Gorguts. That's what the intention is. Being able to just sit back on like half of the map and then nuke the main base is not really meant to work. Okay. So those are the main things for the Ork Stronghold. I know this was a quicker one. That's because in terms of mechanics, it's still not that difficult. It is orcs. They're not going to use any advanced tactics or mechanics, but the main challenge lies in the execution. You need to be able to defend your front at the same time as managing maybe one, hell, maybe two attack waves. It's not inconceivable to set up an outpost over here, tier 1, set up a production building, and start maybe producing vehicles, because as you can notice, this side, not a lot of anti-vehicle. They're shooter boys, they'll send tank busters sometimes, but in terms of their defenses, there's not all that much anti-vehicle on this side, so you could set up a vehicle production building over here, start producing vehicles and clearing out this side with vehicles, as you send your infantry over this side and clear out this side with infantry. So you have to at least manage 2 fronts, sometimes depending on if you want to challenge yourself 3 fronts, and that continues where again you have 3 points of attack and 3 points of attack as well. And that's the main philosophy, where you have multiple ways you can approach. Hell, you can even, this is a pretty short jump distance, so you could just jump units in or jump units in over here. Again, deliberate design to leave this relatively short. So, yeah. There is one last thing I want to note, which is, especially on lower difficulties, you could just ignore the sides and go straight for the middle. You are missing out on a lot of resources, but on lower difficulties where there aren't these advanced defenses, it is feasible to actually just push through the middle. So if you want to make a quick work of the mission, that may be a viable strategy, where you push through the middle, get into jump troops, jump over here, dismantle whatever is on this side, because as you can see, this side is less defended than this side, and then move them up here, kill the generator, deep strike Gorguts, win. So yeah, that's basically everything for the Stronghold. Hope this was useful to you guys. If you have any questions, please comment them below. And keep in mind that there will be a Discord forum with a chat dedicated to the stronghold, so any additional information will be on there, either by me or other players. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next one.